Hi guys, I'm Candy, and by popular demand, my newest doll for you today is Rena Rouge from the show Miraculous Ladybug. I was a little concerned with making this doll due to her unique hair, but I figured this was a good time to try dyeing my own alpaca. Anyway, here we go! So Rena's face isn't all that complicated, to be honest, so the face-up part actually took the least amount of time. As per usual, I spray the head with Mr. Super Clear and start penciling in the basic line work of the face. Once I'm happy with my progress, I spray the doll again to seal my work. Spraying often also helps you build up layers of saturation if you're using watercolor pencils or pastels. Since the mask takes up so much of her face, this part doesn't take very long. Now onto the acrylic paints. Her outfit is a very bold orange and white, so paint really was the best way to go. This ends up taking me a few layers since I had trouble getting the proper shade of orange. After I'm happy with the orange, I move on to the white. It's amazing what one layer of acrylic paint can cover compared to one layer of watercolor pencil. It's like night and day. Once everything dries, I shade the mask around her eyes and nose to give it a more 3D look, and then it's just finishing a few touches here and there until I move on to the eyelashes. Like always, I attach the lashes with super glue. The glue dries super fast, and I don't have to worry about them coming off later. Then I add a layer of watered-down gloss to give her mask some shine. I do go full-on gloss to the eyes and lips, though. I want those nice and shiny. Alright, onto the body. I cut out a piece of craft foam in the shape of her tail and attach it with super glue. Craft foam can be shaped a bit when you add a little heat, so I used fire to push it down, and that gave it a more natural falling shape. Then I used 2-part epoxy clay to clean up the seam. It would have been easier if I used white craft foam, but black was all I had, so it's time for some base paint. I want it nice and white so the orange will pop easier and with less layers. If you've watched my other Miraculous Ladybug doll videos, you've already seen how I apply pastels to the joints, so I won't go into too much detail here. The orange didn't take that many layers though, which was great, and as always, the black pastel saturates so well. It only took me like 3 or 4 layers to get the color I wanted. the chest, I first pencil in the shape with a white colored pencil, then I fill that in with more acrylic. Now it's on to the smaller details of the suit. My god, my black acrylic paint sucks. Look at it. It takes so many layers to get a solid color. I really need to invest in a higher quality brand one of these days. Cleaning up all the sharp edges and lines takes a lot of patience and going back and forth between two colors, but seriously, stick with it and it will look great. Now it's time for the part in her outfit. Her tail connects to a type of top jacket dealie, and at first I thought I could fake it with colored pencils and pastels. The results were okay, but I didn't like it, so I moved on to good old epoxy clay. It doesn't take much to add a little 3D action into this. Once it's dry and sanded, I just paint over it. Once it's all finally done, I give it all a once-over with Duraclear matte varnish and then a layer of watered-down gloss. And now onto the hair. I had some alpaca I brushed out and a dye I thought would be a good match for her hair, so I kind of just dived into it. Ooh, as you can see, I first started with trying to dye a huge chunk at once, but discovered that made things way more difficult. Later, I found much smaller wefts at a time worked way better. Look at that color. It's awful. It's nothing like the picture. Jesus, trying to think of a way to salvage the wefts, I decided to improvise. Here you can see a comparison of a weft with just dye and one I covered in soft pastel that I rinsed and dried. The vibrance is absolutely what I was looking for. At this point, I decided to try and combine the two. I take my pastels and gave all the hair a good once-over. After that, I went over all the wefts with another layer of dye and left it to soak overnight. The end result was much more saturated, but still not as dark as I would like. It was good practice though, and if I had some time and a little bit more patience, I would have probably just found another red dye and tried again. But who has that kind of time with a baby and a toddler? So now I began applying hair for the ponytail base and the bangs. Her bangs kind of disappear into nothing in the show, so what I'm doing here is just gluing them around to the back of her head. It does look awful, I know, but just stay with me. Before dealing with the hair part, I move on to the ponytail. Like always, I make a long weft using Mod Podge and then cut it down into tiny little mini wefts. Then I apply the hair in the opposite direction I want the hair to flow. That way, once it's dry, I can pull each weft back and it will look like her hair is in a ponytail. It's all dry, so let's pull all those wefts back. Take your time here or it won't look very natural. Just go weft by weft, gluing it to where the ponytail will be placed. Don't worry about the mess either, the ponytail will cover all that glue. After I get to a certain point, I cut the wefts down to make room for the wefts on the other side of the head. Once everything is done in the back, I go back to the part in the bangs. You might wonder why her head is on backwards. Well, in my obvious brilliance, I made her tail very much stuck in a certain position, so she is not capable of sitting down unless her tail is hanging over the edge of a table or if her head is completely turned around. It was a good lesson to learn, and I'll know better next time, I guess. Alright, let's move on to the actual ponytail. This time around, I decided to start with the pastel and then do a layer of dye over it. The color was bolder the first time around, but it still wasn't what I wanted, so I did the pastel hair color thing one last time. Once it's all dry, I apply the hair. I gotta say, it was really hard to keep the orange dye away from the white, but I think I mostly managed it. I did lose a few wefts in the process, though, unfortunately. Wow, that is a rat's nest. Okay, let's style this. As you can see, her hair is much shorter than it's supposed to be because I frickin' cut the white too short. Oh god. I didn't show this part because the tantrum I had would not look very productive. Also, in my rage, I forgot to actually film me compensating for the short hair by adding some pure white wefts onto the underside of her ponytail, which in the end ended up working better than I thought it would. Alright, as for the ears, they were pretty easy. I cut out more craft foam to the proper shape and glued them together. After that, I applied epoxy to the edges to give it a more seamless look. One of these days, I'll get the camera angle right to keep my damn hands out of the way of the picture. The next part is pretty self-explanatory. I paint them to match the rest of the costume. I then just apply them with some more glue. Her hair is not changing its style anytime soon, so it's fine. Her Miraculous wasn't really much. I just printed out an image of it, thickened the paper by gluing a few layers of paper under it, cut it out, and then added paint over it to get the colors correct. Then I glossed it, and boom. And with that, she's done. I'm so happy I got to finally play around with dyeing alpaca. I'm not sure if it was the dye or that the hair wasn't human hair, but it was nice to learn that these loud colored dyes aren't always going to be like the picture on the bottle. There were a few things I would like to do different next time, but overall I'm happy with how she came out. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.